welcome to Culture on I-24 News. I'm Oded Grober. Thank you for joining me. Today on our program, we'll have an interview with director Robby Elmaliah about his new documentary, The Unwelcoming. Musician Omar Souleyman's career boost from a surprising audience. And we'll see his Cuban music, now free of censorship. Robby Elmaliah is an Israeli director whose latest documentary film, The Unwelcoming, tells the story of a Tunisian family who recently immigrated to Israel. Elmaliah followed their troubles integrating into their new community, and the film won Elmaliah the directing prize in the last Jerusalem Film Festival. Last week, I sat down to talk with Elmaliah. Here's our conversation. We jump in. Let's watch a clip from the trailer. Come back.
أنا جاي سقيت من تونس ونزلت في مشبتة غادي عاد الشعب غادي داروا علي.
أنا قلت لك يا مشام حنقول لك عود.
إيه بس هذا واحد منهم دكتاتوري مش دكتاتوري عندنا في تونس برك قلت لك في مشابهة غادي دكتاتوري بالفم والملا.
أنا لو زارت.
الظاهر ما جات من أمريكا.
تذكرت يوم زي هيك שאתה משתחרר יהיה לפחות 100 משהו.
אני שיבת מصרية وبعلي خموش بين ششونة شين هي مغنين معنا الشين راعين.
ياخذ الدراهم ويرجع البيت.
ايوه وانا قلت لهم لو كان نموت فهمت ولا ما نخرج منها.
انا ما حبيتش.
All right, so definitely we see a reality, a pretty complex reality, and we're going to touch on that in a little bit. But I want to go back to the beginning, to how this project began, if you can tell me.
אוקיי, אז זה התחיל מתסריט עלילתי שהתחלתי לכתוב.
It all began with a fiction script I wrote. I started to write about an immigrant family arriving in Israel, and for this I needed to research a real family.
לצורך כך חיפשתי משפחה לתחקיר.
Through friends, I was introduced to this specific family, and I began to come visit with a camera. Slowly, I fell in love with them.
ולאט לאט פתאום כאילו התאהבתי בהם.
And at what point do you realize that you don't need to write a story, that you just have to point the camera at them?
I saw the story through the lens and I said to myself, I don't need to write anything. I put aside the script and just went on filming.
ופשוט המשכתי לצלם אותם.
So what was it there that drew you in?
תראה, זה מין תחושה של, זה הרבה מאוד תחושות, זה אפילו...
You know, it's not one feeling, it's many feelings. It's like going back in time. I felt as if I was portraying my own grandparents' immigration. It was something I didn't know and it really touched me.
זה ריגש אותי, זאת אומרת, אמרתי פעם שזה...
In the movie there is a song we wrote, and we called it Longing Flows Out of Me. It's about a strange feeling of longing you feel for a place and time that you don't really know.
Now, how did you get the family to play along with you?
Okay, אז
When I started shooting, I found out that the father and patriarch of the family really wanted to have a movie made about him. He wanted to have his story heard around the world. You know, he also wrote a song about it. And in the opening of the movie, he sings it. He sings that he wants the whole world to know everything he has gone through. The original name of the movie is Shemen al Mayim, oil on water.
The two that don't mix. Yeah. Now, you know, the reality that we see is a harsh one. It's very complicated, not very simple. But you don't turn away. You don't offer any relief. I'm curious if the experience of making the film was difficult for you.
Yes, for me it was hard to accept, in the fact that it was hard for me to accept how people who come from the same place 50 years ago can treat a new immigrant like this.
Yeah, because that's the thing. The thing is that the people who aren't accepting them were either themselves or their parents or their grandparents at most were in the same situation.
I think it's all connected to the story of the Mizrahi Jews. To the story of what happened to those who immigrated to Israel. They were told that their own culture was primitive and barbarian, that they should shed their old culture and embrace the so-called more enlightened culture that was here. And now that they see Chmimish, the new immigrant, it takes them back 50 years ago to the past. And it puts a mirror in front of them. They see themselves differently, and now they see him as the Arab enemy.
Yeah. Now, but on the other hand, we've seen, this relationship between Mizrahi Jews and Ashkenazi Jews in Israel has been going on for a while. But I think in recent years, the Mizrahi side of things are claiming their spot. I mean, if it's music or other cultural areas that the Mizrahi culture is on the same level, on par with Ashkenazi Jews.
Yes, I think we see this mostly in the third generation. Want to go back to the roots of what their parents were denied. And we see creative people in every field who are no longer embarrassed to express themselves without shame, without feeling inferior to anyone.
Now, when you screen the film, when people watch the film and they can see this, even this stronger mirror, even than just seeing new immigrants who come by, what are the reactions to the film?
I can give you an example. My parents.
Well, I'm sure they loved it, but they're your parents.
They were born in Israel, and the movie was very touching to my mom's family to see, to accept this reality. Others couldn't believe that people still live like that, like in the 50s.
And the people of the village, people who are in the film.
The family told me that since the screening of the film, people from the Moshav have been calling them to apologize. They told them, "We didn't know what you were going through." So now they see the difficulties the family goes through. So maybe the film will bring change.
The film is a very good film. I'm very impressed. Robby Elmaliah, thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks.
Syrian musician Omar Souleyman was a wedding singer before becoming immensely popular with Western listeners and especially the hipster crowd. So is the singer who never takes off his dark glasses really worth listening to, or is he just a strange postmodern icon? Daniel Campos tries to find out.
Fans embrace him while many respected music critics tear him apart and call him a gimmick. Syrian wedding singer Omar Suleiman has oddly become a new sensation among hipsters in the West. And although he looks like a character from the movie Borat, Omar is actually a real person. A debka singer, a style of music and dance popular across the Middle East. Omar has many fans, among them the famous Icelandic star Björk and ex-Blur British rock star Damon Albarn, both who have endorsed and collaborated with him. But how how did a wedding singer born in a remote village in the northeastern region of Syria manage to go global? Iraqi-American producer Mark Gerges from the record label Sublime Frequencies was the first man to put Suleiman on the international map by releasing his first album in the Western Hemisphere. Gerges claimed that Suleiman was a legend in his homeland, an over-exaggerated statement that helped promote the musician internationally, although in Syria very few knew about him. Ever since, Omar has performed at prestigious festivals around the world, such as Glastonbury and at the Nobel Peace Prize concert in Oslo. Currently, Suleiman and his partner, Kurdish keyboardist Rizan Zaid, are signed to Domino Records of Ribbon Music. In 2013, they released their first studio album, Wenu Wenu. Is he really talented, or can it be that the hipster audience is desperate to find a bizarre idol? It still remains a mystery how a middle-aged Arab man dressed in traditional Bedouin clothing became popular among crowds of intoxicated pot-smoking hipsters, dancing frantically to his electronic debka. But whether you love or dislike Omar Souleyman, we can't deny that thanks to his success, the singer manages to feed his huge family and his 9 children, especially in difficult times as his country is in state of war. Despite his international success, Souleyman remains connected to his people. Most recently, he has raised funds to help civilians affected by the conflict in Syria.
Definitely cool. In a moment, we'll hear just how free Cubans are when it comes to music. But first, our cultural recommendation for the day.
The glamorous stiletto heel, a desired object but also highly criticized and unhealthy, reminiscent of celebrities such as Imelda Marcos and Celine Dion. The cause of shopaholic passion and material addiction. The Brooklyn Museum in New York has mounted an exhibition dedicated to high heels. Offset, needle, stiletto. The exhibition that organizes high heels into 6 different themes, exploring its potential in an architectural, artistic, or sculptural form. It also awards the opportunity to see or review the shoes worn on the feet of celebrities, the Ferragamos worn by Marilyn Monroe, and Lady Gaga's United Nudes. It is also an opportunity to enter the world of fashion shoes and precious accessories from Christian Dior, Chanel, Tom Ford, Pierre Hardy, and other legendary icons of fashion. 2 decades in shoe crafting in one place.
Now, after far too long, our Daniel Campos is back in the studio. You visited Cuba recently, and we'd love to hear what you found.
Hello, Oded. Yeah, I had the lucky chance to visit Cuba. A wonderful experience. And, I also had some time to do some research, explore, ask people questions about the current situation in Cuba. I was curious because in 2012, the BBC reported that the ban had been lifted on anti-Castro musicians. So I started asking and checking music stores. And it was quite interesting because I couldn't find not even one album or CD of any musician who is anti-Castro, has an anti-Castro position, or an exiled musician.
So it could be that those nice words were just words.
Yeah, because I also listened to the radio stations and TV. Nobody's playing this. It may be that the ban was lifted, but there's still a silent boycott, you know.
I see. So what types of voices can we hear from Cuba, or maybe from Cubans, from ex-Cubans?
There's actually something quite interesting in Cuba. There are many artists who never expressed an opinion. So those artists are not boycotted, obviously. Their music plays on state TV and radio, which is owned by the country. It's called the Cuban Institute of Radio and TV since the Cuban Revolution in 1959. 1959.
Yeah.
And well, when it comes to the exiled music, people listen to it in their homes, sort of not publicly. Artists like Celia Cruz, who was a popular musician who left Cuba after the revolution, and she said she wouldn't return to Cuba until she would die. She passed away in 2003. You won't find anything about her. Other musicians like Gloria Estefan, you won't see anything or no reference about these musicians, as if they never existed.
And you think it's because they spoke out against Castro, or is it because they fled the country and now are considered traitors?
They fled the country. According to the BBC report, there were 50 musicians on the ban list.
Right.
So they did speak out. They're against the communist regime, and they bring it up in the lyrics in many songs.
You know, I don't know, because we all know artists around the world love some of the leaders of the revolution. You know, Che, his image is very popular. How did those leaders see artists?
Well, according to Paquito de Rivera, Grammy Award-winning musician from Cuba, Che Guevara hated rock and roll, hated jazz, and after his meeting with Che, he decided to leave Cuba. He said Che was intolerant.
On that bombshell, we will end. Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you for that.
We're done. Please join us again tomorrow for another edition of Culture.